Hello. I'm here on my phone now.
Thanks, pal. We're about to get started.
Okay. It appears someone has messed up my name. We'll fix that.
Okay, I believe we're going to go ahead and start. We may have had a little difficulty on Molly Blankenship's end. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, and sorry, David, I'm having tech issues, but I'll go ahead and throw it over to you and David, or you and Dave, so you don't lose me again. But thank you guys so much, and it's a pleasure to see you all.
Okay, and here's what Molly would say, if indeed the connection were not a problem. We want to thank you for joining us for this final evening of the 2020 Hamilton County School Board debates. This final debate this evening features the District 1 candidates, the incumbent Rhonda Thurman, and also challenger Stephen Vickers. Okay, sorry about that, Stephen. I've lost place on my script here. We want to thank our partners. This involves Chattanooga 2.0, WRCB Channel 3, and the Chattanooga Times Free Press. And also thanks to our candidates for participating and sharing your views on where you stand on the issues involving this first public, school board race. Now, our candidates answered some get to know you questions ahead of tonight's debate. And if you'd like to learn more, we have that on the WRCB Decision 2020 page. We recognize how important this year's elections are during this unprecedented and challenging time, as well as into the future. So again, thanks to everybody for watching this evening. Thanks to the candidates. Dave Flester is also going to be co-moderating this event. So here are the ground rules. Both candidates will leave their cameras and microphones on at all times during the debate. Each candidate is given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Dave and I will be alternating asking questions of each candidate. Some of the questions have remained the same across each debate. Others have been customized for a particular district. The 3 of the questions this evening will be presented by questioners who live in District 1. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question, then a 30-second rebuttal will be offered to the candidate who answered first. When there are 15 seconds left, you'll hear a little ding. It's like a Chattanooga choo-choo train whistle. Candidates, that's your signal to start wrapping it up. And if you go on a little past your deadline, you'll hear another ding. That means finish your sentence, but don't start another thought. Time begins when the candidate begins speaking. And once time has expired at the end of an answer, the moderator can choose to allow a candidate to complete a sentence, as we said, but not to add a new thought. Dave?
Thank you, David. Each candidate is also going to be given a couple of minutes, 2 minutes for a closing statement following our question and answer period tonight. The questions were not given to the candidates in advance, and the candidates may not use the internet, the cell phone, or other outside assistance to answer questions during the debate, although they could refer to their own notes is certainly permissible. David and I, as moderators, may ask questions to clarify a statement, to explain a point, or to try to keep time constraints and to keep a respectful dialogue as necessary. Our goal of tonight's debate is to introduce the candidates of District 1 and their platforms for you, the voters, and the viewers tonight. We'll start with opening statements in alphabetical order and then alternate who answers first. Candidates, do you have any questions about our debate rules?
No.
No, I do not.
If not, Rhonda Thurman, you're up first. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm Rhonda Thurman. It's been my privilege and honor to serve District 1 as their school board rep since 2004. When I was first elected, I promised to hold the administration fiscally accountable to the taxpayers. One of the first things I did as a member of the board was to tackle the 12-month employee unlimited vacation day accrual that yielded some administrators checks over $100,000 upon their retirement. After this policy was exposed to Hamilton County taxpayers, the board was forced to change the policy. This one policy change has saved Hamilton County Department of Education millions of dollars. I also took the board and administration to task over the charging of fees for classroom expenses. Students were harassed and embarrassed for non-payment of fees. After going to the state and obtaining an opinion from the Attorney General stating that this practice was not allowed, the fees can now be requested, but they cannot be required. Last year, I'm happy to say that the fees were finally added into our budget. I have proven myself to be fiscally responsible, not only in my personal life, but with taxpayer money as well. I do not care to question things and bring things to the public so taxpayers know what is going on. I will continue to demand that taxpayer dollars are spent in the most efficient and effective manner possible.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. Stephen Vickers, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. And thank you, Molly Blankenship from Chattanooga 2.0, David Carroll, Dave Flessner. Thank you for this opportunity to share my campaign here. I was born and raised here in Soddy Daisy. I've spent 47 years here. I'm a community member. I have kids that one graduated from Soddy Daisy High School and one that's currently enrolled at Soddy Daisy Middle School. I've got vested interest in this campaign. I see it from both the parent, I see it from the student's perspective, and I see it from the community's perspective. I have a degree in organizational leadership and my master's from Lipscomb University in conflict management and mediation negotiations. My work experience, I'm a data analyst. I crunch numbers. I look at trends. I look for anomalies. I look for growth opportunity. I learned through my degrees and through work experience how to mirror and manage both the numbers and the behavior side of things, which will bring relevant resources to the Hamilton County School Board. I, unlike my opponent, she is a 16-year incumbent. She's a career politician at this point. I'm a newcomer. I have to look at things from a unique perspective and be able to use change management to facilitate things on a dime. I don't look at anyone's best interest other than the community, the students, the taxpayers, and all the parents and teachers alike. We have to look at things from a holistic perspective, both from the human side and the data side. That is why I'm running for the District 1 School Board. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you both. And the first question, Stephen Vickers, you'll have the first response to this. The Hamilton County school system has experienced some great success in the last few years, receiving multiple accolades for the hard work of students, teachers, and leadership. What have been the primary contributors to that success, and what would you consider to be the persistent weaknesses?
So, excellent question. Over the last couple of years, some successes that we've seen. Number one, we start to see the increase in state testing scores. Graduation rates have increased on a steady basis. Literacy rates are continuing to climb. Hamilton County Schools is the fastest growing literacy rate in the state of Tennessee, are all scores related. We have to continue that process. And you say, what else do we need to improve? We need to continue to improve that. Those are just one of the many things that we locally have seen great test results in, and we have to continue to thrive in that manner.
And the second part of the question, weaknesses.
Weaknesses. Right now, our response to COVID, as we've seen it, and I wouldn't say it's a weakness, there has been amazing results provided, but we were caught, everyone in the entire nation was caught off guard. I think technology and infrastructure needs to be improved upon. We've seen some lower connectivity rates, and we've got to continue to improve those.
All right, Rhonda, same question to you, strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, the strengths, I think that Dr. Johnson brought a lot of enthusiasm. I think a lot of probably our high school students saw Dr. Johnson as a younger person than they were normally see as probably a superintendent. I think that caused a lot of enthusiasm, especially in some of our, our major minority schools. I think that they've really seen him as a real good role model, and I think that's been real good for the high school students. I think that he has been very enthusiastic about getting students involved and through the Student Advisory Council and doing things like that. And I think the enthusiasm just gives kids a reason to want to come to school and to learn. Also, a lot of activity with the teachers. A lot of pep talks. A lot of what am I trying to say? A lot of support for them in their schools. I think that has helped a lot.
And weakness?
The weakness is, well, first of all, our math curriculum is terrible. I will be glad when we get a good math curriculum. I think if nothing else good comes out of the coronavirus, except that parents now see how bad our math curriculum really is when they found out that math is drawing circles and squiggly lines and squares. If nothing else comes from the coronavirus except that, at least parents understand now why we need to change our math curriculum. And I think when we do that, we'll see our math scores go up. Our literacy, we've just adopted a new literacy program. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And I hope that our literacy continues to climb, because right now we still have only about a third of our kids are reading on grade level. And that's not acceptable.
And as we mentioned earlier, whoever gets the first question gets a chance for a rebuttal. Stephen, did you have anything to respond on this?
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't do it without our teachers. They have been the backbone of all of this. They have endured hours upon hours of work outside of their normal schedules, right? They've had to shift in the paradigm of how the classroom really looks. We've shifted to a virtual classroom that how long did we have? 3 days, 4 days to tackle this? Those are some accolades that every teacher needs to be thanked for that, for their hard work. The administration from central office was able to provide material on a short notice. They stepped up to the game. They provided that to help and aid us in this process. It was an unknown that we have to give ourselves a pat on the back on the way we responded.
Our next question concerns your assessment of our school superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson, and we'll go to Rhonda Thurman first. If you had to give a letter grade, how would you rate Dr. Johnson's performance as a leader of Hamilton County School District over the last 3 years? And how do you think you should have a relationship between the school board and the superintendent? What's the ideal type of relationship to have with your school superintendent? What grade would you give?
Okay, I give him a B. Dr. Johnson and I get along. I know at school board meetings it doesn't look like that, but I have a lot of really good conversations with him. The relationship I think that we should have is he's our only employee. Superintendent is the only employee that the school board has, except for our school board attorney. So whenever something goes wrong or we need answers, that's who I go to. And when I get questions that things are going on in school, I call him. I don't have a problem with calling him, texting him, emailing him, all hours of the day and night if there's a problem. And that's the kind of relationship I have with him. And we get along. Actually, we get along very well. We kid each other a lot, and it's a lot of things are sometimes lighthearted. Like if he sees my number, he'll say, "Oh no, what's what now?" or something like that. But unlike, I don't know how other board members, what kind of relationship they have, but that's the relationship that I have with him. The only problem I have is a lot of times still we find out things. Seems like certain board members know things that other board members don't, and that's still a problem for me. I've seen that go on in different boards that I've served on. But, as far as the superintendent, I like Dr. Johnson. I like him personally. I think he's doing a good job. I think sometimes he listens to the wrong people in the administration that may give him some bad advice. And I think he's regretted some of those decisions that he's made. But, all in all, I like Dr. Johnson. And he tells me, "Rhonda, I know sometimes you give me a hard time, but you make me do my job a little better. You make me think a little more." So, and I think and he makes me think too sometimes. He brings up issues.
Thank you, Rhonda. Stephen Vickers, how would you rate Dr. Brian Johnson?
If I scored Dr. Johnson on standard scores, he's got an A right now. We're the top performing school district in the state of Tennessee. He's a regional superintendent award winner. We've opened up communication to the community and schools and teachers. And I take this one as the, I guess you could say, the funny one. Since he's been the superintendent of schools, I haven't got a phone call that school's closing 5 minutes before my alarm's gone off. So accolades to that one right there. 45 schools ranked as a level 5, 32 reward schools. He has come in, he has brought the energy, he's brought the enthusiasm. He has brought us to where we're at now. He has an A in my book.
All right, thank you both. And our next question comes from a parent in District 1. I believe it is Tracy. Tracy, if you're out there, come on in, introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, yes, thank you, David. Again, my name is Tracy Perfarza, and I have 2 daughters who attend Sunny Daisy High School. With the coronavirus still active in our community, and a lot of the parents that I know are concerned about their children starting back to school in August, something that is extremely important to me is the safety of the students as in their school if the pandemic causes an additional shutdown for any period of time. When they are not back in school, it becomes very hard to check in on those students when they're at school, that's their safety zone. Do you agree with the district's 4-phase reopening plan for the fall of 2020? And if you do agree, why? And if not, how would you modify this?
All right, and Stephen, you go first on this one.
All right. Hey, thanks, Tracy. And I haven't seen you in a while, so I know we've been all in different areas. So good to see you again. Number 1, Lieutenant Colonel Brooks and Mr. Fogelman were tasked with the ultimate catch-22. We are adapting and having to work through something that we've never seen before, a pandemic. I mean, it's unheard of. However, what they were able to come up with was one of the most detailed plans that I've seen, and I've looked at all of them across the state of Tennessee. I've looked at ones from all over. This is the most detailed plan for re-entry to our education system. I'm in the same situation as you. My son at the middle school. We've had conversations and we talked about it, what's going to be in our best interest. We have to protect our children. We have to protect our community members, the parents and guardians, and everyone else. We have to protect the teachers and the students. But we have to also maintain flexibility in the process. Do they have a great plan? Yes, they do have a great plan. It is very lenient, flexible, and gives us several different options.
Rhonda?
Yeah, I agree with most of the plan, I guess, but there are a few things that I don't like about the plan. I don't agree with forcing students to wear a mask. There's such a low risk for the students. I know that they say the numbers are going up, but I've been inquiring about what are the ages of where in that age group are the numbers going up, and it's very, very low for school age students. So I don't agree with students wearing masks. I think that teachers are going to have to be mask police, and I don't think that's something they should have to do to add to their things that their tasks that they have to do every day. I think it's just going to be way too bothersome for them. But also the parents have to work. I have to keep the parents in mind with this. And when I look at this plan, I think of people like my daughter who's a single mom that she's going to have to, if we just arbitrarily go back to phase 2, then that's going to put her right here at the last minute, not having anyone to keep her children. I mean, I work, my husband works, my daughter works. There's no one to keep the children on those 2 days that they're out of school. So that's something we have to keep in mind, because people are going to start going back to work, because in a couple of weeks, these unemployment checks are going to be cut out. So everybody's going to have to be going back to work. And that's something we have to keep in mind.
Stephen, do you have a rebuttal to that?
Yes. Lately, actually starting, it was this past Monday, the REACH program went into effect. And you can almost look at it as a trial run to what schools are going to look like. A couple of kids in the classroom, kindergarten, first grade range, and the kids are doing great. Step into the classroom and see they are managing the mask. They're doing well. Walking into the classroom, and these are young kids. K through 2, the youngest of the ones. I know, like my son, he's probably already picking out what color he's going to wear, what logos are going to be on it. But the kids are taking this with stride and doing well with it.
All right, next question is also concerning COVID-19. Safety is a top priority, but also this poses threats to students' academic progress, and there have been some indications of that. As a school board member, and Rhonda, you'll get this first, how will you work with Hamilton County Schools leadership to assure that all students, and that includes special needs students, have equal access to and receive the best possible quality education?
This is why kids need to be back in school. They need to be back in the schoolhouse. There's just no way that you can provide some of the services to everyone's home that we provide in the school. We just do not have enough resources for that. We don't have enough counselors. We don't have enough special ed teachers. We don't have enough things that we need. Some of these kids, the most vulnerable children, are the ones who are going to suffer the most. They need to be back in the schoolhouse. We worry so much during the school year about social and emotional effects on children. Well, to me, the best thing we can do socially and emotionally for these children is to get them back with their friends, give them a sense of hope, give them a sense of normalcy, and let's get this thing going and get these children back in school. Like I say, only a third of our kids are reading on grade level. What in the world is the school is going to look like with them missing so much of the year last year? And then Lord only knows how many days we may have to miss this next year. But these kids need to be back in school because of child abuse. There's all kinds of reasons we need to get children back in school.
All right, Stephen, same question for you.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, we're talking about not necessarily the safety aspects of COVID-19, but students' academic progress. As a school board member, how will you work with the school system leadership to ensure that all the students, including special needs, have equal access to and receive the best quality education possible?
First, I think we have to look at where we're at, right? COVID took a damper on the education process. It stalled us. So some people even have read where we called it the COVID slide. We slid back a little bit. Kids weren't in school, adaptations had to be made, but we first have to look at where are we testing? The teachers and the administrators of the schools know best. They can provide testing scores, not for grades, but to find out where we're at. What needs to be the next instructional piece? Where is that group of kids? Each grade level, each classroom, it varies. You can be in one class and say this math class and this math class may be two different testing scores. Well, the teacher can adapt to that. We have to give the professionals the ability to determine what's next.
And Rhonda, would you like to respond?
Well, the only way you can do that is get them back in school and see where they are. I mean, we can't go to everybody's house and test them. And there's some of these students that I don't think, some of them even logged in probably all of the end of last year. And we had to send counselors and things to their homes looking for them to see where they were. I know we now have some summer schools going on, and we invited some students who are the most at risk into those summer schools, trying to get them caught up some. But I'm telling you, these kids are going to get so far behind, and it's not fair to them. None of this is their fault. It's not fair to them.
Thank you both. Now I'd like to ask you to describe your understanding and views on the achievement gap we see in Hamilton County schools among students and how they perform and achieve academic success. What do you think causes these achievement disparities, and what, if anything, should be done to address the gaps in learning and achievement we see among some students? Stephen Vickers, to you first.
So, and I've heard it time and time again that we hear that 36% of our students can't read. That I have trouble with. But if we look at it, that's a state mandate. That's a state test, not a county, not city, anything. That is a state mandated test. For example, if I walked into like Miss Cordell's class at Saudi Elementary or Miss Davis's class at Allen Elementary, third grade teachers, and we'll say Charlotte's Web, probably a third grade book. But I would say if I handed that book or had a read aloud by the end of the year, we see it's not 36%. We see that that's 85% of those kids can read that book with me. We have to look at our testing. We have to look at what's being tested, but we can't, that's a state mandate that we have to adhere by and are scored by.
Rhonda, your response.
Yes, well, one of the big things I think we need to make sure that parents convey to their children that they value education. that they provide them with a safe space at home to do their homework, to do whatever that they need to do. We need to be sure that parents get their children to school. Teachers cannot teach children who do not show up, who are truant. The parents play a big responsibility of that. I'm not saying that parents should have to teach their children at home, but they should be responsible for getting them to the classroom ready to learn. They should teach them to be respectful of their teachers and teach them how to behave when they get to school. Those are all things that are just very, very important, I think, for a teacher to be able to teach in a classroom. But the parent, just showing children how much adults value education, I think, is one of the most important things, to show them how that with an education, they can do anything. Without an education, there's just not a whole lot they can do. So an education is their key out of poverty or out of the state that they're in, whatever it may be. Education's the key.
Stephen, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at state testing and our literacy rates and stuff like that, I want to bring up, how many people have sat there and watched Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? How many questions, Dave, can you answer off that show? Because it stumps me from time to time. I mean, I'm like, that's part of it. Those questions are pulled straight from a state test for fifth grade level. We have to take a look at what we're tested on. But fundamental education, we have to teach them to read. But what is the testing about? We have the community to help. We have to have that input, and we have to be able to support our kids.
Well, thank you, candidates. Our next question comes from Powell Philo, who's a rising seventh grader at Soddy Daisy Middle School. Powell, thanks for being with us tonight. What's your question for the candidates?
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. Almost 1/3 of Hamilton County students don't have access to the internet, which increases learning gaps between students. When school closed and went to virtual learning in March, many students, including some of my friends and peers, were not able to do schoolwork at home because of the lack of resources. What should be done to address this issue, especially if the coronavirus pandemic forces additional school closures this fall and winter?
Powell, thanks for your question. Rhonda, to you first on the response.
Okay, well, I know the superintendent and the administration has been working with the EPB to set up hotspots around different areas that they have seen to be problematic. They're working with that. I do know some principals actually were willing to pay out of their pocket for some of their students to get Wi-Fi. We found out a lot of students did not even have Wi-Fi in their home. So we've also are working with EPB to ensure that there's something that's affordable for these parents to be able to get in their home for the students to be able to do the work. We're one-to-one with on computers. I think almost every child had a computer, but like you say, if you can't get on the internet, it doesn't do a whole lot of good. So we're working on that. I know that there's a church in Soddy Daisy, Rehoboth Baptist, that was set up as a hotspot. EPB set them up as a hotspot so students could come to their church and do work. And I think that's something that other churches might want to look at doing, to be sure that they open up a safe environment for children to come in and be able to use their Wi-Fi and do their schoolwork.
Stephen, how should we address this digital divide in our school district?
The digital divide is real. Now, I mean, it used to be if you had a roof over your head and a hot meal, you were good to go. Now, if you got to have a roof over your head, a hot meal, and internet access. We are one-to-one in Hamilton County schools, 3 through 12. K through 2 still has some not one-to-one ratios. So boosting that up, at even kindergartners can work a laptop or work a tablet. Okay, it's what they know now. I know we are the gig city. There are plans and access available to many households. Everyone has the option to. They have outreach programs that they're currently working on. EPB, Comcast, other providers. Those are items that we can tap into as resources and get people what they need to further the education if we stay in this pandemic process.
Rhonda, anything you want to add?
No, just like I say, I just want people to know that we are working on that, and hopefully, Hal, I hope that we're able to get everyone access. And if children don't have access, they need to call the school, and because every school has a tech person there that is willing to come and help them, or try to give or to tell them where they can go to get some resources and get some help, and maybe go and, like I say, find out where the hot spots are and try to help them get some assistance with getting online and being able to get their lessons. Every school should have one of those people in it, and they need to reach out there and get the help they need.
Well, to our friend Pal Failue, thank you very much. You are obviously
Thank you,
an
Pal.
excellent student at
Thank you very
Saudi
much.
Daisy Middle School. Hope to see you over there soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the debate.
You're welcome.
All right, next question, educational equity. It is defined as intentional supports and policies designed to meet the individual needs of each learner to eliminate disparities. Equity not only applies to students of different races, but also to those of different abilities, economic backgrounds, and it shows up in rural communities as well. Should equity in education be a priority for Hamilton County Schools and particularly District 1? If so, and Stephen, you get this first, if so, what strategies would you propose to address disparities across the county?
Well, this one hits home. I mean, I grew up poor. I was in that rural area. I mean, I had teachers, coaches, community members, my mother who raised me, that put that effort into me. I think I turned out pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't be here where I'm at today without all the effort that they put into me. And I want to that's why one of the reasons I'm running. I want to give that effort back to everyone else. I want to be a sounding board, a listening board, and be able to provide that input. Parents, teachers, guardians, teachers, social workers, counselors, they can help drive that direction for our kids. Right now, we've got approaches for vocational, college, military. Those are all options that they can help push us and get us over the gap and move us forward as students.
All right, Rhonda?
Okay, in the school system, we have a chief equity officer. It was a new department there, or a new position, I guess I should say, in the central office that we started last year. And we look into different things like that. And I'm glad you said, David, there are a lot of pockets of poverty and inequity in the rural community as well. I can take you to Daisy Mountain, Saudi, Sell Creek, any of the mountains in Hamilton County. I can take you up there and show you some really pockets of poverty. So it's not just in certain schools. I've always been for the money following the student, and I think we've done a better job of that in the last few years, making sure that the money is getting to the students who really need it, because some students just need a little bit extra help because of their home life situation. I think I leave a lot of that up to the principals. I found out the principals to be the best people to go in and find the students who really need some help, and take them under their wing and try to make sure that they get the assistance that they need.
And Stephen, do you have any rebuttal or follow-up to that?
I mean, we have to look at it from a perspective of it's part of the community. It's part of the teachers, the counselors, the social workers that build and find out what's needed within the students. It's got to be a joint effort. It's got to be unified within the entire school and administration all the way through. But equity doesn't always mean equal, right? We have to maintain that giving kids what they need. They have to have the right resources, and everyone plays a critical part in that.
If you're just joining us, this is a Facebook Live debate between the District 1 candidates for school board in Hamilton County, incumbent Rhonda Thurman and challenger Stephen Vickers. If you are tuning in now and want to see the entire debate, it will be available after tonight's forum on Facebook at WRCB TV or the Chattanooga Times Free Press. And invite you to listen to the entire debate. Next, let's talk about funding and taxes for supporting our schools. An effort to raise taxes obviously failed last year, despite support by the school board, not by the county commission. Do you think the schools require additional funding? And if yes, what specifically should those funds go toward? And if not, why not? Rhonda, do schools need more money?
Well, we get more money every year. A lot of people realize that, but we'll get 10, 12 million extra every year just from growth money from the county. So we get additional money every year. We get additional money also from the federal government every year. So we can do that without having to go up on taxes. And I said last year, and I said the year before, when we do our budget, if teacher raises are our top priority, then we need to make it our top priority. Let's give the teacher raise the first thing, and then anything that's left go on. But like you say, the superintendent does the budget. A lot of people think the school board sits there and does the budget. We don't. The superintendent and his administrators put the budget together. They give it to us, and we can either vote for it, amend it, or just absolutely reject it. One of the three. And so that's the way it works. The superintendent gives us the budget. We don't make the budget. He gives us the budget. And that's what I said. If it's a teacher raise we want, we should put it in the budget to begin with, and then any other money that's left, do with whatever, put it in maintenance without having to add any more into the central office.
Stephen, do we need additional funding for our schools?
No, we don't. We don't need to raise taxes. We need to balance our budget. We have to first look inward before we can ever look outward on any of it. We have state and federal funding along with county funding that comes into this. Yeah. But right now, nobody knows what your budget's going to look like. COVID, and I know this may be redundant. We've said COVID, I don't know, 25 times, but that has thrown a cog in everyone's wheel that we do not know what's going to happen. We have to be able to react to the budget needs. We have to be able to assess the budget, but we also have to be able to react to what our allocations that are coming in and be on point with what we're receiving.
Rhonda, anything you want to add then?
Oh, well, that's just absolutely correct. This is why when we were going over the budget this year and people wanted to add extra things in the budget, it just wasn't the time. It's being totally tone deaf to the public to want to raise anyone's salary for any reason at this time when so many people are out of work and so many homes are destroyed in Hamilton County. It is just not the time. We need to do what everyone has to do at their home. They need to look within the money they have and try and do the best that they can with it, make their priorities. And if, like I say, if teacher raises or whatever are our top priority, let's make it our top priority and quit giving it lip service. Let's do it instead of putting it on the end and trying to use it as a pounding board for the county commission, to give the teachers a raise. Let's give them a raise up front and then go to the county commission if we need more money for other things.
All right, less than 40% of our youngest students arrive at school ready to learn, and the rate is half that in schools of concentrated poverty. What are your thoughts about the role of early childhood education and how the school system can work to ensure the success of students when they walk in the door at kindergarten that very first time? And this goes to Stephen first.
Can you not imagine what that kid feels like when they walk in the door for the first time? But through partnerships with families, getting kids off to the best start. That's what the school system's there for. Getting kids ready to learn. As a kindergartner coming in, you can walk through the hallways and you can tell, they're like nervous. Some of them are still clinging to mama and daddy. But we have to be, as a school, facilitating that process of getting them there, getting them ready ready what it feels like to be in school. But that's the options that I see with it. It's a positive move for our students.
Rhonda?
Yeah, well, one thing that we do have, we have some I think they're called kindergarten academies that seem to work real well for some of our kids, getting them ready to go into kindergarten to let them know what's happening. But a lot of teachers, of course, David, you're old like me, so you know that we didn't go to kindergarten. We started in the first grade. And so now, I just don't like to keep moving it down. So, well, you need to go to pre-K to get ready for kindergarten, to get ready to go to kindergarten, get ready to go to first grade. I mean, before you know it, we're going to be starting the minute you're born. So, I know that some of these kids, they need to learn the basics of school, how to behave, how to sit down and be quiet, how to respect your teacher, those kinds of things. Because I'm convinced that the teachers, if you get the kids in this classroom and they know how to behave and have proper respect, teachers can teach them if they get those basic fundamental things in the beginning. Because teachers will tell you, even kids that go to pre-K, they can't tell the difference. And kids that go to pre-K, when they start learning to read, all the kids learn to read about the same time. So, that's my thoughts about it.
Rhonda, first, thank you for recognizing my maturity. And Stephen, you have a rebuttal about any of that.
Dave, I will not call you old, but what I will say is Camp K is a great program that we're seeing in this early childhood programs. What that does for us, it gives us the foundation and a good start to the entire education process. We start the standards, we set the expectations, and we continue to move. But it's a partnership and a thriving group within the community and with the families.
Our next question concerns the appropriate role and services that schools should provide for counseling and sort of non-academic assistance to students. COVID-19 and its impacts are likely to create additional trauma, stress, and mental health challenges among some students. Does the school district have a responsibility to ensure the mental and emotional health of students? And if so, to what extent and what form should this support take? And if not, why not? Rhonda, to you first.
Oh, absolutely. You know, some of these kids are coming to school with so much baggage. Some of these kids, you know, all demons are not down below. Some kids live in the house with demons, and they come to school with things that we cannot even imagine. So yes, those children have to have some of those needs met before you can meet their educational needs. You need to meet those needs. So yes, there is a role in the school for those kind of things to help protect the children and be sure that they're being properly cared for, and being sure that their emotional needs are met, and being sure that they understand that there are really people that care for them and want the best for them. Yes, I think a school has a great responsibility for that, and I think teachers do that, and principals do that. I think that, you know, the school community automatically does that because they care about children.
Stephen?
So if you think about it, during school time, 1/3 of the day, a child's day, is spent in the school, 1/3 at home, and 1/3 asleep at home, but not awake. Schools have a vested interest in the emotional well-being of the kids. I mean, it is true. I heard someone tell me the other day, before you can unlock the mind, you've got to unlock the heart, right? So we have to help from the teachers, administrators, the counselors, the social workers, the entire community. It's an effort for everyone, that we have to help remove the fears and the burdens. And, you know, with the tornadoes in the East Brainerd area, with COVID, with anything going on, we have to ensure that our schools are adequately have the resources and the staff to help our students.
Rhonda, are we doing enough for emotional support of students? Should we do more?
Well, you know, I just can't imagine what some kids have been going through listening to, you know, I've listened to some parents whose children have committed suicide during this lockdown because they had no hope. And, you know, that really disturbs me, for children not to have any hope, because as adults, we can look and maybe see a bigger picture. But when we constantly tell them that you're not going to get to play ball, that you're not going to get to go to school, you're not going to get to see your friends, I cannot imagine what kind of emotional impact that has on children and what we're going to be dealing with when we finally get them back in the schoolhouse. That's why I think we need to get them back in the schoolhouse and give them some hope.
All right, for those of you just logging on, it's pretty much halftime here. In fact, I'll rattle on for a second here to give you guys a chance to catch a breath or have a drink. But you are watching the District 1 School Board debate, incumbent Rhonda Thurman and challenger Stephen Vickers. And we still have several questions to go. The candidates have agreed on some issues, not so much on others. We'll see where it goes from here. Our next question will come from Lauren Brock. She's a visual arts teacher and coach at Soddy Daisy Middle. Lauren, come on in and join the debate.
Hi. So my question is about our value in teachers. So last year we got a 2.5% pay increase. All Hamilton County Schools employees did, but due to COVID-19, step increases were frozen. I know that both of you claim to be fiscally responsible. So my big question is, how are we going to ensure that we retain the highest quality teachers during what is arguably one of the most challenging times to be an educator?
And Rhonda, it's your turn to go first.
Okay, well, another thing that the teachers voted to do is they turned down one raise in lieu of to hire 186 more support staff. That's one thing that the teachers did, which I thought was crazy, but they decided to do that. And what was so bad, all the people that we hired, we took off from school right after, so we hired all these people and paid them all this money, and they've yet to work. So it's been a little bit crazy situation, but that's what it is. like I say, right now, teachers, the starting pay for salary for teachers in Hamilton County is $40,050. And you had $10,000 on top of that for benefits. So we figure about $50,000 for every teacher that we hire. That's starting out. And then our average teacher pay is, I think our average teacher pay is $48,391. And then, so that's say, we'll round it up and say $60,000 for one teacher. So, you know, we've done a lot. One of our goals was getting the teachers pay up to over $40,000, and we've met that. And so some of the raises the teachers didn't get was their own fault, because the HCEA said that you chose to take higher support staff instead of getting a raise.
All right, Stephen, same question.
So first, we have to show respect to our teachers. Teachers are professionals that deserve, they're teaching our future, right? We have to first, as a board, look at the respect that they deserve, and I mean, applaud them for every minute and every hour of what they do. We have to continually monitor and review whether their pay is adequate. Do we need to look at how our surrounding areas pay, or the local private schools? What do they pay? Do we need to keep in line to properly retain and keep good talent? Because, I mean, with retaining good talent, that helps in the recruitment process of new teachers. We have to be able to give them the resources they need for their classrooms. We have to provide them the respect that they need. And we have to continue to look at advancements for our teachers.
And Rhonda, do you have any rebuttal?
Yeah, well, you know, we have talking about recruiting teachers, we do have in HR, we have people that are out actively recruiting. We've also started hiring teachers earlier in the year, so we can get some of the first, because a lot of times we were losing teachers because they would go to another county because they were hiring earlier and they wanted to be sure they had a job, so they would take a job elsewhere instead of coming to Hamilton County. So we have kind of addressed that situation. And also, some teachers tell me in lieu of a raise, they would much rather have more control of their classroom. That means more to them than a pay raise. And that's something that we can do as a school board, and it not cost any money. So that's something that we need to look at doing, because that would, and a lot of the teachers, the new hires, they come in and they're in some of the hardest to teach schools. And that's also a problem, but I don't really know what you do about that, because some of the, you know, when teachers get ready to leave a school, if they have seniority, they can leave and go somewhere else. But a lot of the young teachers end up teaching at some very hard schools. And so I really don't know how you address that. Because we already pay extra to teach in some of those schools. We give some kind of a stipend for or a bonus, I guess they call it, for the teachers that volunteer to teach at some of the harder schools to staff.
All right, speaking of behavior, that's the topic of the next question. Behavior interventionists and other discipline supports were included in that $443 million budget last year that did not get approved. Can discipline be carried out in schools fairly without disproportionate actions being taken against students with special needs and students of color without such supports? If so, how do you do it? Stephen.
So first, we got to look at, I know we've talked a little bit about it in previous conversations. You have to unlock the student, right? Let's go back to Shrek. Everybody remembers the movie Shrek? Kids are, you know, everybody's like an onion. You got to first peel back the layers. We have to use the resources in our schools, the teachers, the counselors, the social workers. We have to find what's going on with any discipline situation. We have either it be economic impacts or whether it be family matters, anything. But we've got to look at it as we have to find what's really going on, identify the root cause. Don't just go, you know, straight off and think we know what it is. Let's have conversations with the kids. Let's employ the community, the teachers, the social workers, and the counselors to help find what is really going on deep down inside for that kid.
Rhonda?
Okay, well, last year we did adopt a code of acceptable behavior of during what part of the year we were able to use it last year, we found out some things, some snafus in there that really need to be taken care of. There was way too much paperwork for a teacher to get a student discipline. And we're working through some of that. And I know Justin Robertson is working on streamlining that process to help the teachers. But we have counselors, we have assistant principals. Some of our schools have 3 assistant principals, and they're in charge of, some of them are in charge of discipline. We have SROs in the schools to talk to students. So I don't know why we can't discipline students fairly. I don't know of any principal who's going to discipline a student and be mean to them for no reason. I don't see that happening. I don't get any complaints about that kind of thing. So I don't know any reason why we can't go ahead and discipline with the staff that we have on hand. We have plenty of people in the schoolhouse to do that.
Stephen, you agree with that?
Well, yes and no. I mean, we've got to look at it. The code of acceptable behavior was, I think, 40 plus pages. I mean, as a principal, teacher, administrator, do we have that much time to go through and, okay, did we check this off? Did we check that off? We can sit down and talk to the kids to find out what's going on. You mentioned SROs. I am a huge fan of the SROs in school. I know one in particular that he's there coaching to get to know the kids. He's on the fields, he's in the schools, not during just school hours. He's there all the time. I mean, on the fields, at the courts, wherever, so he can find out and get to know the kids even better. We also have options that we can look at, like Centerstone. That's a great viable option that we can look at for the kids and the families in the community.
Our next question, which goes to Rhonda, you first, concerns how you make decisions on the school board and who helps you determine your choices. In this social media era, I'm sure you get lots of suggestions.
Oh, yeah.
So if elected, when making decisions, whose voice and interests will you prioritize and listen to first, and why?
Oh, I usually go to seasoned educators. I have a lot of friends who were former principals, because y'all think, am I missing something here? Tell me what I'm not seeing. Tell me what you would do in this instance. I have a lot of teacher customers actually that I rely a lot on for their input on things. That a lot of times just common sense, if you just look at a situation and you get all the information, you can make an informed decision. And that I don't go and you can't go with every decision you make and make and take a vote with everybody about what they want you to do. This is a representative republic, and the people of District 1 have elected me to go and make the decision. And some things, you might want to get input from, but you can't spend all your time doing that, or you're just stagnant. You can't get anything done. But like I say, I go to usually seasoned educators and other people like that. And the central office, I wear them out with texts and stuff, asking questions. So,
Stephen, if you're elected, who will you listen to in making decisions?
Well, first we've got to listen to the experts, those people who are right there in the classroom, in the building, at central office. We also have to listen to let's just take COVID and our plan going forward. We got to listen to the doctors, the infectious disease doctors. We have to take input from all viable sources before any informed decision can be made. We are elected by the community. We have to see the community input. Without the community input, there's nothing to do. We take a combination of the community input, the professional input, the data, and the human side, and make an informed decision. We can't be a school board representative who, takes marching orders of our own. We have to be uniformed across the board, reaching out to cross that divide.
Rhonda, any rebuttal?
well, since I'm a career politician, I thought I was a career hairdresser for 45 years. Who knew? That I wish you'd tell my feet that I've been a career politician. But anyway, people know they elect you because of what you stand for. You have a basic core values that you stand for. people of District 1 know what I stand for, know where I stand. Like I said, I do. A lot of times, hey, listen, I get all kinds of email. You can't imagine over this going back to school thing, how many email I have gotten over this. I read every one of them. I will read every one of them, but what I won't read is when I get 50 email from a certain activist group that all say the same, exactly the same thing, just signed by different people. I will not read those. So, but you know, that's just the way I am. I will take some, because sometimes people bring up points I haven't thought of.
Speaking of being on the school board, leading into this next question, I'll take this quick opportunity to thank everybody who's running for the school board, everybody who's serving on the school board. One of the current school board members said, and I don't think this was a joke, that the school board member did the math and figured out it pays about 48 cents an hour. So, so just the fact that you two and the others are interested is something you get a pat on the back for. According to the Tennessee School Board Association, effective school boards are data savvy. They embrace and monitor the data, even when the information perhaps isn't the most pleasant information, and they use it to drive continuous improvement. So school board members get this disc each month that has a lot of information, a lot of things you can learn. How, first off, will you consider and study this information, and how would you use it to improve student outcomes? Stephen?
Now you're talking my language. That's what I do every day. I analyze and track trends of data. Without data, we don't have anything. It gives us a guiding direction on where we need to go, where we've been, and what hurdles we need to accomplish and get over. It also can forecast, roadblocks that we have to look at. We use data to do practically everything. Just take a look on most people's walls. We have a thermostat that's probably smarter than our phones were 15 years ago. That data tells me how much my electric bill is going to be. But we also have the human side of things. We have to not only rely on the numbers, but then we have the human side that we have to take a look at.
Rhonda?
Well, we see so many numbers, it's just almost overwhelming. Sometimes our school board packet is 400 pages long. And this one coming up is one of those. It's really very long. You go over it and you do the best you can to kind of make sense of it, but you have to, it's not really what you know, it's what you do with what you know. A lot of times we'll see trends in the wrong direction. You will ask the superintendent what's going on here, because that is his job to tell us what is going on and what he thinks needs to be done. That's why we're paying him. I'm a hairdresser. All I can do is watch the trends, and if trends are going in the wrong direction, I call the superintendent and say, hey, what's going on here? I've done that with our math scores for years. Why can we not get our math scores up? And they keep telling us we've gone back to basic math, but like I said, as we know, we have not. And so those are the kinds of things that I look for. Are we improving? I look at ACT scores. That's one of the main things I look at. Are our ACT scores going up? Are they coming down? Why? What's going on? What schools are they going up in? What schools are they going down in? Those are the kinds of big picture that I look at, because the little stuff, that's for the people in the central office. That's what they get paid to do, is paid to look at all of those numbers and track them. We pay people very well in the central office to do that.
And Stephen, you get the last word on this one.
Well, number one, no matter the length of it, it has to be analyzed. We have to continue to dig into it, but you also have to, know what you're looking at. We can make numbers look however we want, but we have to dig in and then go to the heart of the numbers to find out where we're really at. You have to be able to know it and understand it to make any sense of it and to keep us moving forward.
This next question is sort of a fundamental one. What should be the promise or the guarantee of Hamilton County schools to every single student? Rhonda, what should be the guarantee of what students get out of school?
Well, when you leave Hamilton County schools, our promise to our students should be, as I looked out over the graduating classes this year of Sequoia, Soddy Daisy High School, and Sale Creek, I looked out over those students. I thought, I hope that we have prepared each one of these students to go out and be productive members of society. That is the purpose of the school to begin with. It's to make people be productive members of society so they can go out and get a job and pay taxes to keep this country going. That's what our job is. We need to make sure they have basic math skills, be able to read, be able to do, just the common, ordinary, everyday things. Now, some of our kids excel so much that they have, the world is their future. Whatever they want to do, they're going to be able to do. Whether it's with a vocation, I know some of the richest people I know were vocational students in high school. So, we just need to provide them with every opportunity, whether it's working with their hands, going on to higher education, whether it's going on to a community college to learn another skill set. We need to prepare them for that. And they should not have to take remedial classes when they get there like they are now. And that is something we're going to have to get a handle on. And I for the life of me, cannot understand why we can't get that under control. To be able to get kids where they don't have to take remedial classes when they go to a community college. We really need to really get down and figure out. It's been going on for years and years, and they say they're fixing it, and it doesn't seem it ever gets fixed.
Stephen, what should be the guarantee of Hamilton County Schools to every student?
Well, we have to be ready to put those students into either a college, vocational, military, or work track. They have to be prepared for what they want. We have to raise good members of society. They have to be there, and that good members of society, character, grades, education, prepare them for what's next in life. We have to show them and demonstrate for them what's about to be next. Those key attributes are what's we need to prepare them for.
Rhonda, anything you want to add?
No, but here again, I think sometimes we could get charged with educational malpractice because since I've been on the board, I've actually known students who have graduated from high school who could not read. It's totally unacceptable. I don't know how that happens. It's a mystery to me. I don't know how that would happen, but it has. And like I say, we owe that to our students to be sure that they have the absolute best education that they can get, because kids are not worried about all this other fluff that we worry about sometimes on the school board. In a classroom with a teacher, learning everything they can during the time they're there. That's all they're worried about. And that's really, it should be our main focus. Students deserve an education. Their parents are paying for it and they deserve it.
All right, we're in the home stretch here. We have time for a few more questions before you will be giving your closing statements. Let's be honest. When you have a race like this and you have a 4-term, 16-year incumbent, this race is something of a referendum on that incumbent. Rhonda Thurman has a record to run on, and Stephen Vickers, you have every opportunity to talk about her 16 years. So let's do that. And each of you will get a chance to answer this basic question. Is the incumbent, in this case Rhonda, an effective school board member? And if not, why? Stephen?
16 years is a long time. And one of the reasons I looked at getting into the school board, it was part of my master's was kind of focused on education. I'd always talked about doing it. She's made the comment and quote, she's the lone voice on the school board. She'll stand alone. And that was, her quote but we have to be in a collaborative effort to move everything forward. And after talking with and working with some of the educators at the state level and college and here locally in the school system, I wanted to make the difference. I wanted to be the voice for District 1. I wanted to be not the lone voice. I wanted to be the reason that we were there, that we could prioritize some of the schools and the needs of District 1. So 16 years, I felt it was time for a change. I thought it was at a point where we could react at a better and faster pace that I could. And I think was my ambition, is to move District 1 and Hamilton County Schools forward.
Rhonda, are you an effective school board member?
Well, I think that quote he was going for, I said, I do not mind standing alone as long as I'm standing in the right place. And a lot of times I feel like I've been standing in the right place. And I don't understand why a 9-0 vote is going to change anything. All a 9-0 vote does is it cuts down all discussion. Because you go to a school board meeting, everybody, yes, 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 and nobody ever discusses anything. It all gets passed and nobody knows what's going on. I don't care to ruffle the feathers. And a lot of times I may be going to vote for something, but I'll ask questions about it. I'll pull it off the agenda to ask questions about it. So the public knows what's going on. Because that's what matters, is that the public knows what's going on. You can pass all kinds of things on that school board meeting and on the consent agenda, and the public never knows anything about it. So, you know, and as far as facilities and things like that, you know, move things forward, I guess that's what he's talking about. I'm not real sure, because our students do pretty well academically up in District 1. But if you think that there's not an all-out brawl, and David, you've witnessed some of this, an all-out brawl when it comes to facilities, who gets what? There's only a finite pool of money there, and everybody, there are 9 districts here fighting for that money. And so you have to make your case, and you can't just go along with everybody else. You have to make your case of why your district deserves that money more than someone else does. And I don't care to be that voice. I don't care if I'm a dissenting voice. I will stand up and do what I think is right. I'm not there to go along to get along.
Is that how an effective school board member operates?
I have to disagree. I mean, by standing alone, you don't work with others to get for example, you know, Sale Creek football field. I know you've been working at Sale Creek football field and complex for a while. It's still incomplete. Working with Soddy Daisy Middle School, I think I read your article that was going to be the next priority. It's a 66 on your MGT scale, right? Out of 100. That's a failing grade. But I know there's other schools that are in worse shape, but we have to work together, not alone, to move us forward. We've got those missed opportunities that we can capitalize on over the 16 years.
Since both of you were talking a bit about facilities, let me ask you about the school buildings and infrastructure spending. It's no secret we've got many school buildings that are in great need of repair and have been so for some time. Do you support the final report on Hamilton County Schools, which recommended a 3-phase 10-year plan for remedying the school district's facilities at a price tag of about $891 million? And if you support that, how should that plan be funded? If not, what should be done to address the critical need of our aging buildings and the lack of maintenance we've had at some facilities? Rhonda?
Oh, absolutely not. I was against paying $500,000 for the MGT report. In the first place, I almost fell out of my chair when they told us the price of it. So I was against it to begin with. We have a whole maintenance department over there, and I know we at one time we had Gary Waters there, and he knew every 12-inch square tile in this school system. He knew everything that needed to be done in every building. We have a whole maintenance department over there. They should know every building better than anyone from out of town that comes in here and walks around for a few days. And the logistical nightmare of this MGT report is just mind-boggling to me. One of the things they wanted to do in District 1, they wanted to move Daisy Elementary to Soddy. Well, first of all, Soddy Elementary is landlocked. There's not anywhere to build on to Soddy Elementary to move those children to. They wanted to move the middle school to the high school and put it where the elementary school was and renovate that. That would leave them without any athletic facilities. We were going to abandon like a 32-acre tract of property at Soddy Daisy Middle to put that school down there where they would have no athletic facilities. There was really nothing in District 1 in that report that made one bit of sense. And I'm not the one who put Soddy Daisy Middle in the 3rd phase of this program. They were the ones that put Soddy Daisy Middle School in the 3rd of that program. I have been trying to get Soddy Daisy Middle School. Matter of fact, at least I did get them a new roof and a new awning and a few facelifts. We're still working on the bathrooms there. The Sale Creek High School football field has been funded, and it should be finished by December, we hope. But with all this COVID thing, it's been so hard to get some of the construction companies working. So, but that's one of the problems with that. But it is going to be, it's going to happen. And they're not playing football right now anyway. So hopefully by December, they'll be ready to play.
Stephen, your response.
So after looking at the price tag, that was tough to swallow. And then the results were even tougher. But those are the numbers behind it, not the human side of it, not the community's input. And I've talked previously on it, where we've got to look at the whole picture, not just the numbers. Now, based off of what I recall, the $500,000, that averages out to about $6,000 per school, 78 schools. We've got the numbers there. But it didn't take into consideration just the maintenance. It was security. It was the locations. It was a comprehensive evaluation of what would be best served for the community areas. That was, like I said, it wasn't the community's input, but just a recommendation. We have to look at the community's input on that to balance that decision process. Sunny Daisy Middle School, that, like you brought that up. My son was there in the 6th grade classroom when the snakes came out. We've got that to take into consideration. Keeping a building of that age up cost even more than a new school. We've got to take a look at some of those. Just take time to walk through the school someday. I mean, you'll see a ton that you never expected to see.
Thank you, Stephen. Your response, Rhonda?
Well, you know, it's real funny about the snakes at Sunny Daisy Middle. I did tell Dr. Johnson the next one they found was going to be in his office. And he said he didn't like snakes. And I said, well, people at Sunny Daisy Middle don't either. So you're no better to have them than they are. And he just cringes every time. I'm going to give him a snakeskin belt for Christmas one year just to really shake him up. But yeah, your Sunny Daisy Middle does need to be replaced, but it needs to be replaced on the campus where it is. And then they build it behind there. There's plenty of property to do that. There's like 36 acres. That's where it needs to be built. We don't need to be shutting Daisy Elementary and moving it. It's just foolhardy to even say that. We're not going to get enough money to do this. And we're just a waste of money and a waste of time. We need to do schools like we've always done them, make our own priority list. Every school board member knows what their priority is in their district. I met with my principals. We all got together, the schools that were going to be affected, and talked this over. That's what school board members need, because their principals know their buildings better than anybody.
All right, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Groundhog Day, but Bill Murray kind of relives the same day every year.
Yep.
Or every day, rather. And every year when I cover the budget request for Hamilton County Schools, it's considered to be too much by many political figures. And whenever you ask anybody, where do we cut back? The answer is usually central office, trim the fat. It's top heavy. So Stephen, you get the first shot at this one. Is that true? Is central office at Hamilton County Schools top heavy? And is that where you would cut if the budget comes in a little high next year?
Not really. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, of school districts in the state of Tennessee that have 30,000 or more students, Hamilton County Schools is the next to last out of all of those. But what we have to do for a budget is we have to analyze it. We have to sharpen the pencil. We have to take a look at the whole budget, not just bits and pieces, but the entire thing, and then start working through. I mean, I had a boss tell me a long time ago, how do you eat an elephant? You eat him one bite at a time. And so we have to take each individual piece and take a look at it until we get to where we need to be.
Rhonda, too much fat in the central office or not?
Well, I definitely think so, because there's a whole lot more people in the central office that now than there was when I started in 04. I can tell you that. And it's real funny how you gauge some things when sometimes somebody told me, Rhonda, there's so many people in the central office now, we don't even have enough mailboxes for everybody. So that may seem like a little thing to some people, but when they say that they haven't hired that many more people, yes, they have. But you know, there's a lot of things that a lot of places you can look to cut. I know a few years ago we looked at doing our insurance a little bit differently, and we saved, you know, millions of dollars a year. We did that. You know, I can say even something as simple as cutting out the unlimited accrual of vacation days. You know, if you had 10 people retired that were getting $100,000 a year, that was $1 million a year we were losing. And just look at through all of these years since I've been on the board, how many millions of dollars we saved just doing that. There's lots of things like that that we can look at. And yes, some of the salaries in the central office, yeah, there's a lot of people there, and I think some of those jobs can be consolidated in there. I really do believe that, but I don't believe I think it's going to take some big ticket items to be able to really get our budget under control. That's where we need to look, a different way of looking, more efficient and effective ways of doing business.
Stephen, any response to that?
I mean, yes. I mean, we have to look at time and motion studies. I mean, those are, you know, where are we most efficient? Where do we need to improve? What do we need to look at? I mean, that can be done with the managers and our directors and moving forward. The central office, they've already been cutting staff based off of the recent budget and all of the consolidations that we're having to look at. But we have to, you know, take a look at us as a whole. And right now, our school system is moving forward. We have the highest performing in the state of Tennessee. So something is working right, and we have to keep moving that direction.
Most of the school budget, and it relates to staff expenses, and all of us, I think, know the importance of great leaders in any organization, and teachers certainly in creating role models and teaching all of us in our own lives and experiences. So what strategies would you propose, or how is the school system doing, you thinking, in recruiting, retaining, and developing both teachers and leaders in our school system? Take it to you, Rhonda, first.
Well, one thing that really bothers me, I guess, with the school system is that we keep having to go out of town and hire principals. You know, I remember growing up that the principals all came, you know, from the school. And I think one of the things we did wrong in the school system was we started asking people if they wanted to be principals. And then they would go take these classes so they could become principals. The way they used to choose principals years ago is if a principal saw a member of his a faculty who he thought had good leadership qualities and all, he would say, hey, listen, you know, he would tell the superintendent, I have someone in my school that I think that we might want to start grooming to be a principal. And I think that's the way, because you can't make a leader if somebody's not a leader. But it bothers me that we're having to go out of town and hire principals. I don't understand that. We have all of these principal leadership things that they take, and these classes they take, and then we don't have any principals to put into the schools. That's bothersome to me. The same thing with the superintendent. I think we ought to be able to have a principal, a seasoned principal, to go in and be superintendent. But yeah, well, we have a way of, you know, we're recruiting teachers, actively recruiting teachers, going to colleges personally. We have people who are actively recruiting minority teachers, which is something that we are lacking in, and we're actively trying to get more minority teachers into the schools. So, you know, that's just the way that, you know, I see things. I think we're doing a good job on some things, but on other things, I just don't understand why we can't have principals out of our own schools.
Thank you. Thank you. Stephen, what are we doing enough to recruit and develop the best talent in schools?
Well, recently, and I after reading and asking the right questions, you know, speaking with Fogelman on hiring and the recruitment process that's going through for our teachers. And I know it was mentioned earlier, starting the process earlier to get those teachers before they go somewhere else. I mean, that's number one. But why do teachers want to come here? What is an incentive for them to be here? One, we have to show them respect. We have to provide them the respect that they deserve as professionals. We have to continuously maintain and review their salary and their compensation packages. Are we competitive? How are we perform against? Once you begin the retention efforts of our teachers, then the recruiting effort becomes even easier, because good teachers recruit good teachers, and everybody then wants to come here. Our test scores go up, and then we have even more that want to be here. Also, like in most HR situations, if you look at the exit strategy on what's causing people or not wanting or they're leaving, then you can fix and adapt those items as well.
Rhonda, any response?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say. We've started doing exit interviews to ask people why they leave. The school board, I guess we really need to start seeing all of those. That might be interesting to see what some people say who decide to leave the school system. But I think a lot of that's going to be lack of support, probably from their administration. That's a lot of the complaints that I hear. And they don't feel like their administrators back them up in the classroom. I think that's one of the things. I think that's something that we need to look at, that instead of continually blaming the teachers, that we need to look at what the truth is sometimes.
All right, we're getting close to 7 o'clock, so it's about time for your closing statements, and this will give each of you a couple of minutes to wrap it up, make any final plea. If there's any unfinished business, somebody said something about you that you want to clear up, now's your chance. And we will ask each of you to go 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap everything up. So we will begin with Stephen Vickers.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak my platform. I know that I am the newcomer, and I know what I can bring to the table. I have my education experience. I have my work experience, both on the mediation and conflict management side. I have the organizational leadership experience and the management experience. Combine that with the data, and looking at tracks and trends to help the county system and District 1 continue to move forward. Yep, again, I'm the newcomer. I'm a parent of a student. I see it from that perspective as well. I bring all that insight to my candidacy for the District 1 school board seat. I'd like to thank everyone for the time and the attention and all the input, feedback that I've received and from the community, the teachers, the administrators, and everyone that has played an integral part in me being here. I don't see myself here as a career option. This is not what it's about. It's about the community. It's about the students first, the teachers to help get those students educated and productive members of society. We have to give them the support that they deserve and they need to focus on the students and make us a better district all the way around. Thank you very much for your time. And again, thank you for the audience here.
And Rhonda Thurman, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. In closing, I'd like to say that the citizens, students, and taxpayers of District 1 know I have fought for fiscal accountability. They know I have fought for facilities and student opportunities. They know I am not afraid to voice my opinion. They know I will continue to be the voice of reason for the hardworking people of District 1. In these hard economic times, it is even more important than ever that school system lives within its means. I will continue to keep an eye on the budget to be sure as much growth money as possible goes into the classroom. There are several projects going on in District 1 I want to see completed. The football field and the pole barn at Sell Creek, the parking lot paving at Soddy Daisy High School. Another major project I want to get moved up on the facilities list is Soddy Daisy Middle School. I have proven that I will do what I said I would do as a school board representative for District 1. I will hope you will vote for me so that I can continue doing the work I have done for the last 16 years.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Stephen. We appreciate very much your participation in tonight's forum. Now we'll hand it back to Molly Blankenship, the Executive Director for Chattanooga 2.0.
Thank you so much, Dave, and congratulations, candidates, on an engaging and rich discussion. It was great. I want to thank you both for participating and second David's comments about just how much we appreciate your interest in serving on behalf of students, families, and teachers in District 1 and Hamilton County overall. Thank you to our moderators, David and Dave. You did a fantastic job. And to our co-hosts, WRCB Channel 3 and the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Thank you to Tracy and Pa and Lauren for their excellent questions and your voice in this conversation. And last but not least, I want to thank all of the viewers who tuned in and participated this evening. If you missed the first part of tonight's District 1 debate or the District 2 and District 7 debates that took place earlier this week, the video recordings will be available on WRCB's YouTube channel. Please share them. Please stay engaged as we move toward Election Day on August 6th. Early voting starts this Friday, July 17th, and the deadline to request an absentee ballot is July 30th. Be sure to check out the Decision 2020 page on WRCB's website, where you'll find more information about candidates, those get to know you questions that David mentioned, and more information about the elections and how you can request your absentee ballot. And please be sure to cast your vote in whichever format you choose. And in closing, I just want to say that I know that 2020 has shown us all as a community just how important strong leadership is for our community's resilience and continued growth and success. So I thank you again for your engagement on this critical topic and encourage you to stay engaged in the coming days, weeks, and the years to come as well. Have a good evening, cast your ballot, and stay safe. And thank you again.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Rhonda.
Everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.